cosmos is permeated by energy, positive energy for a bright future. The cosmos is permeated by energy, not empty, not silent, but full of information, life, energy, and possibilities. And in the midst of this vast ocean of energy, we live on a small planet that actually has everything we need. And yet we are living in a time when energy seems scarce, expensive, contested, unequally distributed, an energy crisis. But perhaps it is more than that. Perhaps it is an invitation to think anew. For crises are often turning points, moments when old systems reach their limits, and new paths become visible. Energy is one of the central issues of our time. It determines how we live, how we manage our economies, how fair our world is, and often whether peace is possible. In many parts of the world, forests are still being cleared, simply to provide fuel for cooking. The consequences are dramatic: soil erosion, loss of habitats, climate change. At the same time, we see conflicts that are directly or indirectly linked to energy. But imagine a different world. A world in which energy is clean, affordable, and accessible to all. Seawater could be desalinated, and suddenly there would be enough drinking water. Food could be grown in vertical farms, across multiple levels, regardless of weather or season. With minimal land use and maximum efficiency, environmental destruction would be reduced. Hunger could be drastically reduced. And when energy is affordable, people have more scope for what really matters: education, health, creativity, life. Decentralized energy supply could make people more independent, freer, less dependent on large-scale structures, less vulnerable to crises, perhaps even more peaceful. Over 100 years ago, a visionary already had an idea of this. Nikola Tesla spoke of how machines might one day be powered by a force that is present everywhere in the universe. Energy, he said, is everywhere in space. It is only a matter of time before humanity learns to harness it. And if we look more closely, we find clues to this everywhere in nature. How does a salmon manage to swim thousands of kilometers against the current? Where does the energy for that come from? How can the Arctic tern fly 20,000 kilometers without stopping, on so little food? How can I fast for 40 days, living on nothing but soup and tea, and still be full of energy and vitality? Why does nature seem to have no energy problem, but only a water problem? If we want to build a house, we need a plan, materials, energy, and people who know what to do. Why should it be any different in the cosmos? There, too, there is first and foremost information and energy. Modern science tells us that the majority of the universe consists of dark energy and dark matter. Invisible, and yet omnipresent. Dark means that science does not understand it. And yet it is there. Perhaps there are ways to harness this energy, at least in part. Perhaps there are interfaces where energy from space itself becomes accessible. Some thinkers have researched precisely this. Their models often lie outside the mainstream. But they work. Just as the bicycle dynamo worked long before anyone could explain it. The beauty of it is, it's fun to experiment with. And if you find something related to energy, perhaps you should keep a low profile. Don't shout about it too loudly, then you won't get into trouble. Let's take a look at some of these fascinating fields of experimentation. First, there's solar energy. When we consider the sun's immense size and energy, shouldn't that be enough for our planet? The problem is storage. But the technology is becoming increasingly affordable. You can buy solar panels cheaply and implement creative solutions. A standalone system with batteries to use the electricity in the evenings, or balcony power stations with small feed-in inverters. And, of course, electric cars can also serve as huge battery storage units for the home. A power station can also be used as a storage system and emergency power supply. You just need to switch it over in the evening. Then there is an idea that fascinates many people: the magnetic motor. The basic idea is to generate continuous rotation using permanent magnets, usually strong neodymium magnets. This requires asymmetry. They work with magnets that rotate or are pushed back and forth, or by electrically saturating the magnet so that it does not break, but only the acceleration impulse gets through. The energy required for these control impulses is much lower than the energy that can subsequently be extracted. A particularly exciting field is hydrogen production through electrolysis. Normally, a lot of direct current is needed to split water into its components. But what happens if the energy is switched at high frequencies, at the natural frequency of water? The bonds become looser and can be separated more easily. An Indian research team impressively demonstrated that a pulsed current requires only 1/30th of the energy to produce the same amount of hydrogen as conventional direct current. It's all about the right frequency. And then there's neutrino energy. Neutrinos are tiny particles that are barely detectable and constantly streaming through us. They have a minuscule mass and move at nearly the speed of light. This discovery won the Nobel Prize in 2015. And every physicist knows that motion and mass inevitably become energy when I slow them down. Films with special crystalline coatings already exist that convert part of the kinetic energy of these neutrinos into electrical voltage. The particles are not captured, but release part of their energy as they pass through the film. These technologies could ensure a decentralized energy supply, create millions of jobs and, at the same time, protect the environment. If we learn to use energy in the way the cosmos organizes it itself, rhythmically, efficiently, with minimal loss, then new paths will open up. Not only technically, but also culturally, socially, and humanly. For a civilization that harnesses energy in harmony may also learn to live in harmony. If you would like to delve deeper into these topics, I recommend the excellent film Thrive, which is available online for free. We must not forget that the cosmos is permeated by energy. We just need to learn how to use it. Nikola Tesla.